Idyllwild Arts respectfully acknowledges the Kawishba Kawiagna, also known as Cahuilla Band of Indians, and all 9 sovereign bands of Cahuilla people who have stewarded this land throughout the generations and continue to steward this land for all future generations.
Idyllwild Arts Foundation is proud to present One World, One Idyllwild, the series. In conversation with Pamela Jordan, the series brings together thought leaders, creatives, influencers, and changemakers, highlighting the work of citizen artists whose careers and lives have been shaped by the transformative power of art.
Have the courage to lead.
The best thing that ever happened to me was the Northridge earthquake.
Artists throughout the world, we are the speakers of truth. We are the most authentic expression of the day, of the times.
Be determined to get the most you can from every opportunity. And where you don't see opportunities, ask for them.
Great leaders recognize that the work requires urgent patience.
You can learn about classroom management, you can learn about the new curriculum, you can learn about the new way to teach whatever it is. But at the end of the day, if those students feel that love, they're more likely to listen, they're more likely to trust, they're more likely to be vulnerable. And in that space, that's where you can change some kid's life.
From Idyllwild Arts Academy in Idyllwild, California, I'm Pamela Jordan with One World, One Idyllwild, the series. Today, my guest is Jacob Scesney, a Grammy-winning woodwind specialist with over 50 chart-topping performance credits, with world-renowned acts such as Maroon 5, the Jonas Brothers, Shawn Mendes, and John Legend. Fielding a career of over 10 years, his work has been seen live on Wembley Stadium, Crypto.com Arena, Red Rocks, Wrigley Field, and several other iconic venues. Most recently, Jacob added a Golden Globe and an Oscar nomination to his collection for his work on the film Babylon. He has over 10 years of experience playing the soundtracks of blockbuster films and hit TVs such as Glee, The Voice, American Idol, The Ellen Show, and The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon. Having performed in 50 states and over 35 countries, Jacob is currently an active clinician and session musician in Los Angeles, California. I spoke with Jacob Scesney on February 17th, 2024. Jacob, it's so great to have you here today.
I'm really happy to be back here.
One of the things I love is talking to Idyllwild Arts alums. I'm still new here after 10 years, so I get to continue to meet the amazing students who went to this school and are successful now, and you are high on my list, so it's great for you to come back.
It's an absolute honor.
What's it feel like to come back to campus?
It's always really emotional. Even the walk, I parked my car up by Loman, and then I walked down here to the library where we're talking, and it's just so emotional. You know, I see all these buildings where I have these memories and associations, and then you're thinking about the past, but then you're also thinking about the present, and yeah, it's really wonderful to be here.
How did you make, you were here 2 years?
Yeah.
2 years, your junior and senior year. How would you say you made the most out of being here? What did you do to get the most out of your experience here?
I think looking back, the thing I'm most proud of for myself, which is, I guess it's kind of a weird way to word it, but I pat myself on the back, is that when I was here, I really tried to be ingratiated into the community as much as I could. I was fascinated by what the visual artists were doing. I tried to go see every dance performance. I tried to see what the interdisciplinary majors were up to. Film, like I was trying to see what the classical clarinet major was like practicing. And so I just wanted to really know everyone in the community, from the people working in the dining hall to just everyone involved with this, because I'm so fortunate that I was able to be here, and I felt like this is such a unicorn experience. I need to make the most of it, and I need to just be around all these people.
So, you know, we're going to talk about the music and all of that, but you know, the experiences that you were just describing, really throwing yourself in, going to other arts performances and exhibitions. How do you think that served you today in your career, having that broad experience and being in such a diverse community too? We're an international community.
Yeah, I mean, that was my exposure to my roommate, Ryutaro Yanagita. He's half Chinese, half Japanese, and he lived in Hong Kong. And he was my roommate, and he was the coolest guy ever. And to be around all these different cultures and, not only the artistic interests, but, people's different cultural backgrounds and stuff you just kind of get thrown into it. And, I guess it's just the way I view life, but whenever I'm thrown into a situation, I just try and see all the corners of the room just because, people are amazing and life is amazing, and try to make the most of it. Also, I don't know if this is related, but, when you're working on trying to be a better artist, it's a pretty solemn experience. You spend a lot of time, I'm a musician, in a practice room by yourself. And I always think that the coolest thing was that after a long day of maybe practicing by myself, I'd be heading back up to McNeil, the dorm, and I would hear a violin somewhere, or I would walk by the ceramic studio and someone was working on there. And you just felt like you were part of this community. It's like, oh, maybe I got a tad bit lonely because I was in my head all day trying to work on improvement and stuff, but then to remind myself that, oh, there's other people doing this similar thing and we're all going through it together. It was just the coolest thing, and it's something I miss to this day. Yeah.
Do you find that you draw on your Idyllwild Arts experience in your professional career, whether that's, I don't know, putting yourself out there, meeting people who are different? Just how do you draw on it? How does it serve you today?
I think going back to what you were saying earlier, just being around all these different people in these artistic backgrounds and stuff, it sparked my interest in all these things. During the pandemic, I printed out the American Film Institute's 100 greatest films of all time, and I put it on my door and I watched all 100. And I remember writing full dissertations on each one because I want to know more about film. Right now I'm reading Stella Adler's book on acting, and I read Sanford Meisner's book before this because I'm fascinated by actors, and I'm always trying to learn more about the visual arts. It's just, and there's so many overlaps, right? Because it's all humans, and it's all human expression, and it's all human experience. And so I think coming to Idyllwild was my first time in my life where you get to be around these people that specialize in a thing, and there's just so much information and knowledge. Yeah.
So, that's great. We've sort of fast forwarded to your junior and senior years in high school. How about early on? What was music or art in your family? How did you get on this path and then find your way? Because this is a serious commitment to come to Idyllwild Arts.
My dad worked for the government, and so did his dad, and he followed in his dad's footsteps, and he hated it his whole life. And when I was a little kid, he always told me, he's like, you can do whatever you want. Just do something that makes you happy. Don't do what I did and be stuck working this job and giving your time to this thing you kind of don't like. But I think there's a beauty in it because not only was I granted the freedom, but I was also kind of given this requisite of take it seriously. You don't just willy-nilly pick things up and stop and stuff. And so, yeah, when I discovered I loved music, they would shuttle me down and I would get lessons and all of these things. There's not really any artists in my family. My grandma played piano in church and stuff, but no career artists, I suppose.
How did you choose the instrument?
I actually, I'll try and make a long story short. It's kind of almost pretty magical. And there's two magical moments in my life. One is I'm adopted right from birth, and that story I think is pretty kind of magical. And then the story of how I found the saxophone is pretty magical. I was playing clarinet, and it was 5th grade, and it was our winter concert, and the junior high jazz band came by, and a kid stood up and took a solo on Louie Louie. And I'll never forget seeing the entire audience and everyone react to this kid who was just expressing his feelings. And I remember looking at that and being like, I want that. I want the ability to kind of make all these people happy while also expressing myself. And then I looked down the line because I was in the orchestra, and I was like, oh, well, this classical clarinet thing may not give me that exact freedom. And the next day, we were at my grandparents' house, and my grandpa was a child of the Depression, so he's kind of, even after he became successful and owned many properties, he's like a pack rat. He just keeps everything and stuff he forgets about. And I was just going through the garage, as I always do, mountains of stuff, and I found a saxophone.
Oh, my God.
I found a saxophone literally less than 24 hours after deciding I want to play saxophone. Isn't that crazy?
That's a pretty cool story.
Yeah, I found a
Magical
saxophone
indeed.
that my it was like my great aunt or uncles, and they just were like, "Oh yeah, we have that." I was like, "What a coincidence!"
Well, you're still very young, and you're just having a wonderful career. I saw you have a Grammy, a Golden Globe, and an Oscar nomination for the film Babylon.
Yes.
That's a lot. You're young. How do you feel about those accomplishments?
I'm really, 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 really lucky. I'm really, really, really lucky. I guess I wish there was a visual element to this podcast thing, but if you can imagine a bar of what I would have dreamed of in my life, what I've gotten to experience my 31 years on the planet is that bar exponentially. My wildest dreams, things like would have just, oh, it'll never happen to me. It would never happen to me. I've gotten to do it over and over again. People I love and admire and are so inspired by, I get to call my friends. Justin Hurwitz, who did the music Babylon recorded. He did La La Land. That movie meant so much to me when it came out. And he's literally like one of my best friends. Like, I used to listen to Keith Richards and Joni Mitchell, and now Keith Richards calls me friend, and Joni Mitchell gives me a hug when she sees me. And just like everything I've ever dreamed of, getting to be on Wembley Stadium, getting to play almost every TV show, getting to play the Kennedy Center honors.
You played with Stevie Wonder on the Grammys.
Yeah, and then by the time this comes out, I'm sure it'll be public knowledge, but I'm doing all the music for the Oscars, coming up in a few weeks. Like everything I've ever beyond dreamed of, I've gotten to do. And I guess it's just a byproduct of that earlier thing of the same me that was here at Idyllwild, of just loving people and being fascinated by people and wanting to be around people and trying my hardest to like be the best musician I can and best person I can. And yeah.
I think that's really a key. You're clearly talented, right? You can't play that axe. I don't care how nice you are. That you're clearly talented. But, being in all these professional settings and, you're mentioning these really successful people who are doing great things in their industries. What do you think, other than or in addition to playing your instrument really well, like being able to execute what is expected of you, what else is entailed? Is it, you get along with people or you show up on time? What else, kind of think you're talking to, this 13-year-old who is just arriving at Idyllwild Arts?
Yeah, it's all of that. You're right. Being able to play your instrument is important, but, you can be the greatest, fill in the blank, anything on earth. But if you just are in your basement all the time and it doesn't get a chance to be seen, then it will remain that. Yeah, showing up on time, being kind, trying to be as prepared as possible. When I walk around, I have a saxophone in my back. This is what I do for a living. When I do my taxes every year, I put down I am an independent contractor musician. So when I show up to a situation, I want to make sure I'm dressed appropriately. I want to just the overall experience. People don't forget. Is it the Maya Angelou quote? Like, they'll never forget how you made them feel.
That's right.
And it's like, yeah, and that's super important, because a lot of times when these situations come up and it's like, oh, the Black Eyed Peas need a saxophone player for this, or like Halsey needs this or whatever, you're just talking about two people or a person making a decision of who they should call. And if you've left a good impression on them and you've never let them down and you have a good attitude and all that stuff and you're going to elevate the situation, then hopefully you kind of want to be that knee-jerk reaction of, I'm the person that they think about when they need this.
Right.
And it's beautiful because it kind of ends up being this positive feedback cycle. Because, right, it's a human thing to want what other people want and something that's tried and true. So it's like if you do a good job and you're a positive person, it kind of just keeps spiraling in a positive direction and it kind of keeps feeding itself.
If you're just joining me, my guest today is Jacob Scesney, a musician who has received a Grammy Award, a Golden Globe, and an Oscar nomination for his work on the film Babylon. We'll be right back.
Idyllwild Arts Academy is an independent boarding arts high school whose mission is to change lives through the transformative power of art. Located just 2 hours inland from Los Angeles and San Diego and 1 hour from Palm Springs, the school sits on 205 acres of forested land in the San Jacinto Mountains. Academy students receive a challenging college preparatory academic curriculum while engaging in pre-professional training in their chosen arts discipline. The school is also home to its world-renowned summer program that serves children starting at age 5 through adults age 95. Idyllwild Arts believes that art is the greatest teacher of humanity and that the practice of creativity, no matter the ultimate expression, hones each individual's desire and ability to craft global change. To learn more, visit idyllwildarts.org.
Welcome back. Today I'm speaking with Jacob Scesney, a musician who has received a Grammy Award, a Golden Globe, and an Oscar nomination for his work on the film Babylon. So you mentioned some people you've played with who call you friend now.
Mm-hmm.
But you've played with some, as we would say in my day, some pretty heavy cats.
Thank you.
Who have you played with where you got the call, you're going to play with this person and you are in awe? Like you have to get over, oh my God, I am playing with.
Yeah. All the different people for all the different reasons. And it goes back to the human thing. When I performed with Jack Johnson, like he's this surfer dude and he's like calm and quiet and his whole team tries to be like sustainable to the environment and like the cups they sell at the venue will be aluminum and stuff like that. And it's just like, wow, that's him. And it's not forced. He's naturally him and he's created this thing. Or when I did Colbert with the Black Eyed Peas, like I used to love listening to the Black Eyed Peas when I was like 13 or 14. And then to be around will.i.am and just how incredibly inspirational he is. And like he's always thinking about a million things and he notices everything in the room. And it's just to be around that kind of quick wit. And then, other people, have leave less positive experiences, but still it's a beautiful thing in like a human way, I was in the Sunday service band with Kanye for 7 months and like that kind of frenetic manic energy, that being around that was interesting. And then being in the house band for American Idol and The Voice, that's always interesting and getting to see all these things. So I guess it all means a lot to me because I was a fan of everything and I still am a fan of everything. It never loses its cool. Sorry if this is tangential, but I think my favorite thing is that when I'm around these people that are so iconic and they're so purely themselves. Because we know when something gets famous, it starts to get, you get managers and agents and the velour of it all, it starts to kind of like become a caricature of itself. But like being around someone like Keith Richards or like a Stevie Wonder, like every time Stevie was at a piano or he touched a piano, he'd just start playing. And it doesn't matter if everyone's in tech rehearsals and camera people are doing this and directors are trying to talk to him. He's like playing giant steps on the piano, or like his relationship to this thing is pure. Like Keith Richards, he's this legendary, iconic figure of rock and roll, but when you talk to him, you realize that he's just a kid from London who loves Black American blues music. Or Joni Mitchell, she's this poet who just it's really beautiful to see that even though these empires are kind of built around these people, that the person generally at the nucleus, at the core, is just this obsessed person who loves this art, and that they became so good and their art meant so much to so many people that other things surround it, but the core is like a pure thing. And I think it's the coolest thing when you kind of discover that.
That's an awesome answer. It really is. I mean, I don't know who listens to the podcast, different people, but I would really want the students to hear that, because you're talking about a curiosity also that I think so many, if not all, of Idyllwild Art students have.
Yeah.
And, what I hear you saying is just never lose that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Never lose that. Yes, you practiced your instrument, you be the best you can, show up on time, but there's wonder in the human experience, and continue to follow that.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
So are you doing, is there, now that you're in the business for some time, is there something you see, I don't know if I want to say next, because it sounds like you're going to be doing this for a very long time, but is there something kind of percolating in the back of your mind that you see next? Go ahead, nobody's listening.
No, it's funny. I get asked this quite a bit. Even last night, I got asked this, and it sounds weird to say. I've never had. Okay, I had a blueprint hero. It was the saxophone player Michael Brecker, and I loved when he was alive. He recorded with like Paul Simon and like James Taylor, but he also was like the saxophone player in the David Letterman band. But he was also playing with Herbie Hancock, and it was just this thing of like he was the supreme jazz musician that everyone respected, but he was doing all these different styles. There was no pretension of like, I do this and that's other type of music. And so when I was a kid, I always loved that, because I think it goes back to this thing of I'm just happy to be alive and I love people. And so as far as how that relates to my career, that was always just kind of my goal. I almost, if people call me an artist, I don't call myself an artist. I don't create things. I help other people build their castles, and I try and execute, and I try and honor a tradition, and I try and practice and all these things. And I know one day I'll come out with my own artistic projects and stuff, but there's nothing, I think it's so sacred. I'm in no rush to do it. Going back to this Michael Brecker individual, he released his full self-named album when he was 38. And at that point, he was already a legend. And I respect that so much, because it was like, oh, he's not on anyone else's timeline. He's trying to do something that will last and be a legacy. And I've kind of always felt that way about whatever artistic things I'll want to contribute. If I'm blessed and I'm lucky enough to keep being alive and keep being healthy, I'm going to keep trying hard. I'm going to keep learning. And at the time when that is ready to present itself, it will. But in the meanwhile, I'm just going to keep doing the same thing I've always done, which is I care more and more and more about the arts, a tradition, practicing, and working hard. And so that's all I know, is that I'm just going to keep working hard, and if cool things keep happening, that's great, but it's only going to be a byproduct of trying to be a better person and a better musician and a better everything.
Jacob Scesney, thank you so much for talking with me today.
Oh, thanks for listening to me rant.
After my interview with Jacob wrapped, we kept the tape rolling while he and I continued our conversation. I thought you might enjoy some more inspiring words from my guest. So here's a bonus conversation behind the scenes.
I love this school. I love this academy so much. I will do anything for you, always. I never give interviews or anything, but for anything related to the school and this academy and this experience, I am endlessly grateful. I got to figure out how to talk about this without getting super emotional, but when Casey went off to American Idol and he got successful and stuff, and he got signed and he was starting to tour and stuff, he let me join his band when I was like 19, and he would share the spotlight with me, and he would let me go out and be me, and that kind of paved the path for how the rest of the world would view me. When I would join Postmodern Jukebox when I was 20, they would be like, oh, you're like a soloist, because we see that you used to tour with this guy, and he would keep you out front and stuff. And then that kind of fed into when I joined Mike Posner's band, and he had the #1 song on earth that year. He's like, okay, I'm going to build the whole thing around you, because it seems like you are in this soloist position. But it really started on a social scene from Casey giving me that trust. And Casey, in his lovable, musically talented spirit, I know where he got that from. He got it from Marshall. And that's how Marshall is. Marshall trusts every human to just express themselves and be themselves. And so my whole career and everything that's happened really started with all of that. And it starts with someone like Casey, and it starts before that with someone like Marshall. And so I think Idyllwild Arts Academy is so lucky, so lucky to have this unicorn human, Marshall Hawkins, here in any capacity. Yeah, that's all.
That's well said. It's been, a highlight of my life to meet Marshall and to support him and be here with him, and to really learn that that music is love, right? That's where he's coming from. He's coming from love, with everything, and he's seen so much in his life, and still he can bring love to the top of everything that he's doing. So definitely that tribute we can't say and do enough. John DeVersa started a podcast.
The best. They're fruit from the same tree. Him and Marshall really are.
So he is interviewing Marshall for his podcast in Jazz in the Pines. I hope you're around. I hope you can come up.
If I'm
the first week in July, if you're around,
send me the dates. Like I said, I really do mean it. I think I've only ever given like one interview, and like I've even tried to get, but like I said, for anything for this school, I got such a beautiful, I got such a fortunate scholarship, and the people that were so nice to, there's so many people, like I said, and I knew that in real time when I was here. I knew how special it was going to be, that I'm never going to be in another environment like this the rest of my life, where I'm surrounded by other artistic people, and I was granted this like opportunity by like people I don't even know that were giving money to let me be here. Like this experience is the most important experience I ever had in my life. It's the time when I think I made the most musical improvement. We're all our own worst judges of our own progress, but I'll never forget going away to here my junior year, and then coming back the summer between junior and senior year and playing with my old friends in Ojai, where I'm from, and just thinking to myself, I was like, oh, they're not as good as I remember. And I think it's when I really started to make some like musical progress. Because before that, I don't think, and I still don't think I'm anything special, but I really don't think I was anything special back then. I just, this school is so important to me. Yeah.
It is. What a beautiful story about Casey. And, I feel with every alum and every project that the alums do together, which there are so many, when they get out of school, and I feel like Idyllwild Arts is a big tent that you come into, and once you do, your life is forever changed, your network is forever changed, your connection is forever changed, and that's another story. And just when I meet alums, it's just the heart. All over the world, the stories are the same.
Yeah, it's so important. This place is so important. That's why I'm so happy to get, I care about you. So even though we haven't had that much of a chance to be around each other, it's like you're here. I see what you're doing. I see your mission. I see your dedication, and it's like instant family kind of thing.
I've never seen a place like Idyllwild Arts ever anywhere in the world. And I think so much of that has to do, of course, the people who are here, the teachers and the students, and this location. This location and nature there's just nothing like it.
I used to do the same walk every single night before going back to my dorm. I'd listen to the same, I can route it. I would go down here, I'd go down to the amphitheater, I'd walk up this, and I just became this like creature of habit. And I'll never forget those just like nightly walks listening to the same songs. Or every Sunday morning I'd go out to the meadow and I'd listen to the same like 20-minute like jazz suite. And just like you said, just being in this environment, but also surrounded by other creative people and this loving community too. As I get older and I'm becoming more of an adult, I see just how much love all the teachers and these adults are giving to foster and create this environment for these kids to like do this art. It's so giving. It's like I aspire to even have that much charity and love in my heart.
But we know in this school that we are witnessing magic too, and that's the beauty, especially when you've done it for several years, is that you see this young person come in and you see him grow and move into Tara Seacrest. That's why she's so excited about you. She's like, I admitted him into the school.
Yeah.
And just to watch you grow, that is really something special.
So it was still the happiest. I mean, it's funny for all of the stuff. I've been to 43 countries. I've been to all 50 states multiple times. I've gotten to do, I understand what I've gotten to do and how cool that is. This is still the happiest time period of my life. That was my 2 years here. And there's a bit of sadness when you say that, because obviously it's a retrospective thing, but I mean, like, what a thing. And I think one of the things I'm so happy about, like I said at the beginning of the interview, was that in real time when I was a student here, yeah, you get stressed out because you have your classes or you have a recital and all this stuff, or you miss home and you get sad. But for some beautiful reason, my entire time here, my junior and senior year, I knew how special in real time my experience was. And so I do because I'm sure you'll talk to some alumni and they'll always be like, oh, I didn't appreciate how amazing it was sometimes when I was there. I knew in real time. That's why I wanted to meet every single person and talk to every single, adult, student, everything. In real time, I knew how special this experience was.
Well, that was cool. You said when you came on campus in the Welcome Center, and you knew her.
Yeah, she's like, oh, you're Heather Companion's friend. You used to work in her office. I was like, yeah, of course. Like, how is she? How's her daughter? How's like everyone? Like, yeah, because I mean, that's how I think when you're truly grateful to a community, you do all you can to ingratiate yourself within every part of it and hopefully be a positive light to it. And I try and do that in my art. I try to be a jazz musician. You honor the past. There's no ageism. You honor everything that comes before, and you honor your current situation. And I think not only trying to do that with my art, but also trying to do that as a community member.
Well, that
Here
says
at
it all.
Idyllwild.
That says it all. I mean, it really does.
Going away from the mic.
You've been listening to One World, One Idyllwild, the series, presented by Idyllwild Arts Foundation. At Idyllwild Arts, we have always believed that art is the greatest teacher of humanity. We continue to believe that the practice of creativity hones each person's desire and ability to affect global change. My name is Pamela Jordan.
To learn more about the Academy and its world-renowned summer program, please visit idyllwildarts.org. To subscribe to the One World, One Idyllwild podcast, please visit idyllwildarts.org/the-series. Please consider supporting the students of Idyllwild Arts by visiting idyllwildarts.org/giving to make a gift today. Thank you for listening to One World, One Idyllwild, the series, a creation and production of Idyllwild Arts Foundation. Executive producer, Pamela Jordan. Directed and produced by Rose Colella. Edited, engineered, and mastered by Justin Holmes. Graphic design by Mark Biley. Marketing and publicity by Dana Albright, Molly Maple, and Alice Metcalf. Marketing assistance by Rose Colella. Production and research assistance by Keith Miller. Creative consultation by Palencia Turner. Our theme song is Beaconing, composed and performed by the incomparable Marshall Hawkins. Pamela Jordan was appointed president of Idyllwild Arts Foundation in 2014. Prior to this position, she held the distinction of being the first female and first African American head of school of the Chicago Academy for the Arts, a position she held for 12 years. She currently serves on the board of the Association of Boarding Schools and is also a member of the Global Education Advisory Council for Shanghai Howard Collegiate School, Kushan. One World, One Idyllwild, the series is a production of Idyllwild Arts Foundation. Any use of materials, including reproduction, modification, distribution, or republication without the prior written consent of Idyllwild Arts Foundation is strictly prohibited.